Coming up, Tzu Chi volunteers in China carry out a winter aid distribution in Shantou city of Guangdong. We see how resort developments are destroying Taiwan's pristine coastlines and threatening our lives. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Wendy Chen. Thank you for joining us. First up, in China's Guangdong province, we joined Tzu Chi volunteers as they carried out a winter aid distribution in Taoyang district of Shantou city. In total, nearly 300 households received bags of rice, quilts, coats, and other daily necessities.
Thanks to Tzu Chi's offering of winter aid supplies, the smile on this grandpa's face can dispel the winter cold. Early in the morning, the distribution venue is already packed with aid recipients. Although the winter in Shantou is not as cold as northern China, the average temperature still stands at only 10 degrees Celsius. Volunteers therefore help put on Vaseline to moisturize residents' skin and also help carry the relief items.
Thank you.
At this year's aid distribution, other than the blue and white clad volunteers, several local residents also put on the Tzu Chi vests to help the less fortunate.
Joining Tzu Chi volunteers' ranks helps me learn what they do. They are truly a group of people who care for those in greater need.
Through serving for the needy, these volunteers have not only inspired more people to join their cause, but they themselves also gain immeasurable joy within.
Imagine living with an enormous facial tumor that not only affects your vision, but also lowers your self-esteem, so you don't want to socialize with others. 11-year-old Xiaoyun from China's Yunnan happened to suffer such predicament. Thankfully, the generous medical staff of Taiwan's Chang'an Memorial Hospital decided to lend a helping hand. Now Xiaoyun can smile once again.
11-year-old Xiaoyun from China's Yunnan suffers facial neurofibroma. The size of the tumor once affected her vision and also deterred the young girl from socializing with others. Thankfully, help came from Taiwan.
The blood circulation supply for the right hemisphere of her brain passes right through the center of her tumor. So had we just cut off the tumor, we would have severed the blood supply to the brain, which meant she would have had a stroke immediately.
It took 2 trips to Taiwan and 4 operations for Xiaoyun's new look. In spite of the high-risk procedures, Xiaoyun's mom still wishes for a complete removal of the tumor.
I am very satisfied because you saved my daughter. I am forever in your debt.
The size of her right eye is still quite different from that of a normal person. We will work on enlarging it in the future so it can match properly with her left eye.
Xiaoyun smiles beautifully as she receives her gift. She will continue to share her radiant smiles with the world with the help of these Taiwan doctors.
In China, the Tzu Chi Foundation has held relief distributions in Guizhou for 14 consecutive years to aid the impoverished. This year, volunteers held their first ever aid distribution in Longping town of Luodian County and came across a senior couple living on the edge of poverty. At Tzu Chi's aid distribution in Longping town of Luodian County, a senior couple sits at the venue looking terribly lost. Upon approaching the grandpa, volunteers learned that the pair has no idea how to get home with their aid supplies.
I walked here. We started walking at 5:40 in the morning. My husband brought me here.
With the grandma visually impaired, volunteers thoughtfully organized transportation for the couple to get home. As both of their daughters have married, it is up to the grandpa to scavenge to make ends meet.
Both of my daughters are married now. Only when I am sick or at the hospital will they call me.
Inside the couple's home, the pair sleeps on a simple bed made of bricks and a wooden board. Seeing their poor light, Tzu Chi volunteers quickly place blankets on the bed and also put the coat on the couple, hoping to bring them a sense of family warmth and love. In Taiwan, the Pingdong prison recently organized a year-end blessing ceremony where inmates put on a Sichuan face-changing performance. But first, we go to Malaysia's Silver Rain Parade, where Tzu Chi volunteers put on various sign language performances to welcome the new year.
Following the beat, everybody rises. Finding the tempo once again, this time they bring out the momentum. From protectors of the Dharma vessel, the next minute they're transformed into gentle forest animals. At the Tzu Chi year-end blessing ceremony in Seberang Perai, volunteers are celebrating the occasion with sign language performances, each of which is a combination of strength and gracefulness.
I signed up to perform as the huntsman because a huntsman has more of a tough personality. Yes, I'm like that in reality.
The interpretation of each role is not easy. Huang Qingyuan, who is taking part in the sign language musicals with his children, humbly lets them correct his movements.
They'll tell me that I think your timing is a bit off, and they will help correct my signing. It's actually given us more to talk about now.
As local residents join in prayer for the world, the lights in hand also contain a symbolic meaning.
Although this is just a light, it gives us great insight. We ought to all become this light to light up dark corners and those around us.
With their outfits and gear ready, this group is ready to make their first debut. The flawless delivery of the Chinese dramatic art of face changing takes the audience by storm. Even more amazing is the performers are all inmates of Pingdong prison, currently serving their sentences.
It was tough. We were reluctant to do it in the beginning. We couldn't figure out the actions and we got discouraged.
80% of our inmates here at the Pingdong prison are drug addicts. They started off not knowing what to do, and eventually they were rehearsing every day.
I'm regretful for my actions. I miss my family a lot. I hope that they are safe, healthy, and happy. I also hope they will be upright and moral people.
Repenting for his past mistakes, A Gui hopes to show his family that he has turned over a new leaf. In the coming days, he also hopes to relay his blessings and love through such performances.
For the past 10 years, Bangkok Tzu Chi volunteers ushered in the new year by only hosting the winter aid distributions. However, earlier in January, for the first time since 2004, volunteers once again hosted the New Year banquet as well. Volunteers put in extra efforts to make the experience felt like a family reunion. Let's take a look.
Preparing for a reunion banquet, Bangkok Tzu Chi volunteers have been busy since early this morning. To celebrate the new year in style, volunteers invited their care recipients to the Jinsi Hall for a meal and aid distribution event, filling the hall with much happiness and joy.
Last year has come to an end, and it's the start of a new year. We wish everyone health and happiness in the new year. Wishing you and your family peace and blessings in the year ahead.
Using a cane for support is Sanur, who became a Tzu Chi care recipient in 2007. Sanur suffered from a stroke, but under the volunteers' love and care, he was able to continue on his path to recovery.
I met Tzu Chi 6 years ago. Today I'm really glad that I can join everyone here at this spiritual home of Tzu Chi.
Previously on his own, Sanur is now part of the big Tzu Chi family.
I used to eat by myself alone every day. Now I have family. I'm really happy.
Meanwhile, another festive gathering took place at the Tzu Chi's retreat office on Sri Nakarin Road. There, volunteers prepared second-hand toys as prizes and also handed out 138 New Year's gifts to care recipients. Helping to spread love further was senior Papa, who returned her filled bamboo coin bank.
For a long time, I just watched as Tzu Chi people gave, but now I also want to be like the volunteers and create blessings as well. So even though my ability is limited, I'm donating my bamboo coin bank for Tzu Chi to be able to help those less fortunate.
The love volunteers and recipients share for one another is like that of family members, warming each other's hearts and making the year a little sweeter.
In Taiwan, large resort developments have sprung up along the country's shores over the recent years. Just like their counterparts in developed countries, these first-class resorts sit right by the beach, upsetting the natural landscape, disrupting local ecosystems, and potentially putting their guests in harm by robbing nature of its breathing room. Here's more in our report.
This used to be a small fishing village. It used to be immaculate. I was born and raised here. We share a deep bond with the sea.
Blue sky and blue sea as far as the eyes can see. This is Waiao of Yilan's Toucheng. However, in the eyes of local residents, the beautiful landscape has been crumbling away piece by piece.
That's a colossal monstrosity. The architectural design is worlds apart from the simple style of our village.
The monstrosity which Wei describes is a private estate featuring Arabian motifs. Next to the main structure is another building featuring ancient Chinese designs. To make matters worse, the 1.7-hectare plot of beach next to Wei's old home is slated to become a new resort. In the place of sandy beaches is now man-made embankments.
The rocks used to lie on the beach, but now they have become a part of this embankment, so they have filled up quite a lot. Perhaps it took some 100 years to form this coastline, but thanks to man, it now looks like this. Some things are gone forever once they are lost.
Not only has overdevelopment ruined the natural landscape, more importantly, such developments are potentially disasters waiting to happen.
Placing these resorts right on the front line next to the sea is actually putting them right in harm's way. Perhaps as we carried out national spatial planning, we need to think about creating a buffer zone along the shorelines as a measure for disaster prevention. By moving people out of the way, we are giving nature breathing room to do its work.
If the Coastal Act can be passed quickly, there will be clearer regulations as to how land along Taiwan shorelines can be developed. But must we resort to large developments to enjoy the ocean's bounty? In southeastern Taiwan, residents have come up with a different solution.
As we walk on the old Alang Trail, we can hear nature serenading us with its song, which is in the form of the sound of the waves.
The 12-kilometer Alang Trail sits between Taidong and Pingtung counties and features the only remaining primeval coastal forest in Taiwan.
When typhoons come, waves wash onto the shore. Without these palm trees, we wouldn't be able to protect our mountain.
The vegetation along the shore acts as a natural barrier and safeguards the Taiwan people, along with their ancestral spirits from storms and waves. The trail sits at the end of Route 26, creating the only gap in the round-the-island highway system. In 2010, the Ministry of Transportation hoped to complete the highway. However, thanks to the efforts of local residents and environmental activists, the government decided to abandon the project.
If wisdom is not applied when planning development, and if we ignore caring for the balance of nature, then we might set off a catastrophe in the form of a natural disaster. Perhaps if one day, if all of this disappears, then man might no longer be around either.
There are no wave breakers, embankments, or resort developments here. This is how the immaculate Alang is supposed to be.
The preserved shoreline not only benefits local wildlife, but also allows the Taiwan people's culture and wisdom to be passed on to the next generation.
In Banten province, Indonesia, upon learning that the main irrigation canal of a village in Tangerang City had become severely polluted with litter and wastewater, Tzu Chi volunteers in cooperation with the military helped carry out a clean-up of the canal. Here's more.
A debris-filled gutter, but did you know that this is actually an irrigation canal?
Lihat saluran air irigasi ini
The livelihoods of villagers of some 6 villages and 1,000 hectares of agricultural land are all dependent on this canal to provide water. However, with the canal severely polluted, it has brought much misery to local residents over the last 7 years.
Mengalir airnya.
With pollution threatening the very landscape and lives of those in Tangerang City, Tzu Chi volunteers decided to help and turned to the military for assistance.
Sehingga begitu diperbaikin.
After learning of the residents' needs, we joined up with the Tzu Chi Indonesia chapter to carry out repairs and clean up. Afterwards, we saw how the volunteers thoughtfully maintained it.
Insyaallah.
We will never forget what the Tzu Chi Indonesia chapter and the ministry did for us.
Thanks to the help of the volunteers and the military, the canal system is now cleaner than before. However, going forward, maintaining the canal system will be a task that rests squarely on the shoulders of the villagers.
Moving to Malaysia, the Tzu Chi Kedah chapter recently opened its second Tzu Chi kindergarten in the region, while students of the Batu Pahat Tzu Chi Academy and the Ipoh Tzu Chi Academy put on the Water Repentance Sutra musical to mark their graduation ceremonies. Let's take a look.
At the graduation ceremony of Ipoh Tzu Chi Academy, students young and old take part in the Water Repentance Sutra musical to mark the occasion.
At the Tzu Chi Academy, they not only teach our children about Buddhism, but also teach them how to apply those ideas in their daily life.
Meanwhile, at the Batu Pahat Tzu Chi Academy, students also put on the Water Repentance Sutra musical. Tzu You's take to the stage first. Then Tzu Shao's put on a short skit. Followed by a marvelous performance by parents.
I believe that goodness is rooted in humanity, especially in kids. What we parents need to do is to motivate their goodness from within and guide them as they grow up.
At the Tzu Chi academies, teachers not only pass on knowledge, but also teach students humanitarianism through home visitations and recycling. On January 1st, 2014, the Tzu Chi Kedah chapter opened its second Tzu Chi kindergarten in Alostar.
They're very happy. Yesterday, after my daughter came home, she said she wanted to keep her school uniform on.
Here, I believe they will learn how to respect their parents. I don't have to worry about the development of their character.
Tzu Chi's humanitarian education really suits my kid.
On the school's orientation day, the principal of the school organizes a seminar for parents.
We expect our students to become knowledgeable and capable members of society.
Surrounded by love, these boys and girls are all looking forward to their school days ahead.
Since its establishment in 2008, there are currently 3 UNHCR and Tzu Chi refugee education centers in Malaysia, which work to give refugee children an opportunity to receive an education. This year, the 3 centers, along with 6 other community refugee schools that Tzu Chi has cared for, held a joint award ceremony in which some 900 students, teachers, and parents took part. Here in Malaysia, 22 buses carrying 900 refugee students, parents and teachers arrived at the University College Sidaya International to attend an award ceremony organized by the Tzu Chi Kuala Lumpur and Selangor chapter.
First of all, I am very thankful to Raymond and esteemed Tzu Chi Foundation for organizing this very big day today.
We hope through today's event and a platform like this to recognize students from each school for their performances, academic or otherwise.
I am very grateful to my teachers, Tzu Chi, and the UNHCR. I have never received an education, so to see my son working so hard is very comforting.
though his father passed away last month and was not at his graduation. 17-year-old Farouk Rahim, who is the student's representative, is determined to change his fate through education.
I'm glad my mom is happy. I want to thank everyone for giving us refugee children a place to learn. I want to continue on with my studies and, if possible, attend university.
Behind the success of these students is the selfless dedication of their teachers, who Tzu Chi volunteers do not forget to thank.
Though these students may not start with equal opportunities, this is where education comes in, to help them learn the basic principles of life.
At the award ceremony, teachers and students do not hesitate to donate what they can to help Typhoon Haiyan survivors in the Philippines, for they know the hardship of those living on the fringes of society. Tzu Chi's relief work in the Philippines following Typhoon Haiyan brought much hope to the lives of the Filipinos. Although not directly affected, Sumanga Eberhard, a Filipino worker in Taiwan, was moved by Tzu Chi's efforts as her relatives lived near the hard-hit areas and was inspired to create a poster to thank Master Zhen Yan.
Filipino foreign laborer Sumanga Jovilin Abihar asks for an audience so that she can present a poster she created especially for Master Zhen Yan.
We will never forget Tzu Chi's love for us. She also knew 44 countries helped them.
Although unable to communicate directly with the master, the young lady's intention is clear. The young 29-year-old Filipino works at a hat manufacturing company in Taichung, where her employers are Tzu Chi volunteers. The year Japan suffered from a devastating tsunami, she signed up to be a Tzu Chi member.
The master always says if one can still give in adverse times, then one is truly blessed.
A regular viewer of DaAi programming, Jovilin is familiar with Tzu Chi's charity missions. This time, the disaster hit close to home, with her grandfather and aunt living near Tacloban. Seeing the help Tzu Chi has given in the aftermath of the typhoon, Jovilin was moved to create a poster to present to Master Zhen Yan.
We had no idea. All of a sudden, she showed it to us. I was moved. I was very moved by her.
I want to thank Master Zhen Yan for giving the hope for the Philippine people.
Jovilin vowed upon returning to the Philippines, she will join the ranks of volunteers and spread the Master's love to help more Filipinos.
We go to the United States at the end of today's program. In San Francisco, one of the schools Tzu Chi regularly provide care and after-school tutoring to is the Malcolm X Academy. Volunteers recently visited the school to teach the students how to make pizza using Tzu Chi's instant rice. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.